Do you remember when the best summer days started with the clang of a kickstand and ended with the sound of your mom calling you home from the front porch? When the sun seemed to hang in the sky just long enough for one more ride around the block? Back then, whether it was 1958 or 1974, summer didn't need a schedule. All it took was a bike, a neighborhood full of kids, and the freedom to ride until the sky turned orange and the crickets took over. Let's take a ride back in time, before smartphones, before seatbelts were even common, when summer meant two wheels and endless possibilities. Welcome back, friends, to another gentle trip down memory lane. Today, we're going to pedal back to those golden summers of the 1950s, 60s, and early 70s, when kids ruled the streets on Schwinns, Spaldings, and banana seat bikes. We'll talk about the thrill of that first bike, the neighborhoods we roamed like miniature adventurers, and the unspoken rules of the road passed down from older kids. We'll remember the smell of cut grass, the crackle of playing cards in the spokes, and the freedom that came from being just far enough from home, but still close enough to hear the ice cream truck. For me, those summers meant scraped knees, Kool-Aid stained lips, and the proud feeling of finally riding no hands. Maybe it was the same for you. So grab a glass of lemonade, get comfortable, and let's coast back to a time when summer meant riding bikes until sunset. Do you remember your very first bicycle? Maybe it was a bright red Schwinns Stingray with high-rise handlebars and a sparkling banana seat. Or perhaps it was a hand-me-down from an older sibling, paint-chipped, but still full of promise. Whatever it looked like, that first bike wasn't just a toy, it was your first taste of freedom. Back in the 1950s, the average new bike cost around $30, $50, a serious investment for most families. That's about $300, $400 today. But boy, was it worth every penny. Parents saved up. Some kids did odd jobs to chip in, and that moment when the training wheels came off, that was pure magic. And who could forget learning to ride? Wobbly starts in the driveway, a parent holding the back of the seat, running, letting go. And then that sudden moment when you realized you were flying solo. That mix of terror and triumph is something you never forget. If you were lucky, your bike came with extras, a horn shaped like a rocket, a basket up front, or maybe you yanked it off because it looked too girly, or those colorful streamers that fluttered from the handlebars. And oh, the customization. We made those bikes our own. A playing card clipped with a clothespin became the engine of a motorcycle in our imagination. Some added decals, others swapped out grips or pedals. If you were really daring, you might have tried to tape a flashlight to the front for night rides. Let me ask you this. What color was your first bike? Did you name it? We'd love to hear about it in the comments below. Was it the blue one with the white wall tires, or that green one you got for your birthday? In those days, a bike wasn't just transportation. It was your steed, your spaceship, your parade float. You rode it to the drugstore to buy a 10-cent pack of gum, or down to the corner store for a bottle of Orange Crush. You parked it on the lawn of your best friend's house and didn't think twice about locking it up. There was something sacred about the freedom a bike gave you, especially during summer. School was out, the days were long, and that bike meant you could explore. A new cul-de-sac, a shortcut through the alley, a dirt trail behind the old lumber yard. Every ride had the potential to become a new adventure. Do you remember your bike gang? the neighborhood crew you'd meet up with riding 2x2 down the middle of the street like a convoy. Maybe it was just you and your cousin or a whole group of kids from school. There were no texts or apps. We just showed up like clockwork after breakfast, ready to go. And of course, the unspoken rules: never ride on Mr. Thompson's lawn. Avoid that one barking dog on 8th Street, and never ever try to jump the curb at full speed unless you wanted another visit to the ER. These are the memories that stick, aren't they? Simple things, but so vivid, because they weren't just about the bikes, they were about growing up, finding our balance, testing our boundaries, earning our independence one ride at a time. Once the morning chores were done, beds made, maybe some weeds pulled or newspapers delivered, it was time to hit the road. And when I say road, I mean our little stretch of cracked pavement that felt like Route 6 to us. Do you remember how the sun felt back then? Not scorching, not stifling, just warm enough to bake the sidewalk and toast your shoulders as you pedaled hard, racing your best friend to the corner. The air smelled like fresh mown grass and hot tar, with maybe a hint of someone grilling burgers in the distance. It seemed like every neighborhood had its landmarks. The house with the big weeping willow you could hide under the alley shortcut with the bumpy gravel, or the kid with the cool dad who built a plywood ramp out front. That ramp of how many skinned knees did we earn trying to catch air, like Evel Knievel. Remember Evel? By the early 70s, he was on every lunchbox and TV set. Suddenly, every kid wanted to jump something: boxes, trash cans, even their little sister's doll stroller, if no one was watching. It was all about the thrill, the showmanship, and maybe, just maybe, the bragging rights. Some afternoons, we rode with purpose to the corner store for a cold bottle of RC Cola or a push-up pop that dripped all over our hands before we even finished the first lick. Other times, we just rode in circles, weaving figure eights in the cul-de-sac racing shadows, or pretending we were in the Tour de France. And it didn't matter how fancy your bike was, whether you had chrome fenders or training wheels still clinking along behind you, we were all equals on those streets. Some kids even rode barefoot pedals, squeaking under tough summer soles. Can you imagine letting your grandkids do that now? The rhythm of those days was simple: ride, rest, snack, repeat. Maybe stop by someone's porch for Kool-Aid grape, if you were Lucky Red, if they had the cheap mix. Then back on the bikes, before someone's mom came out with a dish towel calling names like a roll call of freedom, slowly reeling us back in, and every once in a while the ice cream truck would make its way down the block, its music box melody announcing its arrival like a king entering a ballroom. We'd scatter toward home, begging for dimes, quarters, if it was after 1965 when prices started creeping up. Let me ask you this: what was your go-to treat from the ice cream truck? Was it the classic bomb pop, maybe a fudsicle, or that orange dream cycle that melted too fast if you didn't bite it quick? Let us know your favorite in the comments below. That afternoon ride wasn't just about movement, it was about connection. Checking in with friends, sharing jokes, maybe talking about a girl you had a crush on or the new kid on the next block. Bikes weren't just transportation. They were conversation starters, confidence builders, little mobile clubhouses on two wheels. And then came the golden hour, that magical time when the sun dipped low and everything turned amber and soft. You could almost hear the whole neighborhood exhale. This was when we'd slow our pace, maybe ride side by side, handlebars brushing. The games turned quieter, follow the leader through winding sidewalks or a slow cruise around the schoolyard just one more time. Most of us didn't wear watches. We didn't need to. Time was told by shadows and sky colors. When the streetlights flickered on, that was the final bell. Remember how moms had their own way of calling you home? Some had a special whistle, others just yelled from the front porch. Mine would shout my full name, middle name, and all, and that meant I had about 3 minutes to be off my seat and onto the front steps. And if you were late, no bike privileges the next day. That was a punishment worse than grounding. But before we parked our bikes for the night, there was always that last ride. The quiet one. Maybe alone, maybe just with your best friend, circling the block once more. The cicadas had started up, windows were open, and you could hear the Lawrence Welk show drifting from a TV inside. That's when you noticed the smells, charcoal grills winding down, sweet lilacs in the breeze, maybe even fresh laundry from someone's clothesline. In those days, every house had a scent, every block a rhythm. Even the bikes had their sounds, each creak and rattle familiar. That squeaky chain meant Jimmy was coming up behind you. The slightly warped front wheel on Mary's bike made that gentle whoop whoomp as she rolled past. It was like music, really. Back then, no one worried about helmets or reflectors or GPS tracking. We had our instincts, our common sense, and the good fortune of growing up in a time when neighbors looked out for each other. Of course, it wasn't perfect. We had our falls, elbows bloodied on gravel, sprained ankles from daring jumps. But we wore those scrapes like badges. They were proof we were out there living, learning, growing a little braver each summer. And wasn't it something how even the darkest clouds, those pop-up summer storms, couldn't ruin the mood? We'd huddle under porches, listening to the thunder roll, and as soon as the rain stopped out, came the bikes again. Tires hissing on wet pavement, laughter echoing down the street. When we finally did come home, legs tired and sunburnt, we'd kick our bikes onto the lawn, no locks, no alarms, and head inside, maybe to a dinner of meatloaf or pork chops, maybe to a bath, if we'd really gone through the dirt that day. And as we drifted to sleep, maybe we heard a bike bell outside or the rumble of one last rider heading home. It was a sound that promised tomorrow would come, and with it, more freedom, more fun, more bike rides, until sunset. Looking back now, it's easy to see that those long summer bike rides weren't just about fun. They were a kind of training ground, not for races or sports, but for life itself. We learned balance, not just physically, though that was part of it, but emotional balance too. The courage to try, the humility to fall, and the pride that came from getting back up again. We learned independence, charting our own course down side streets and alleyways. We made decisions left or right, shortcut or adventure, and we learned responsibility too. If your chain fell off or your tire went flat, it was up to you to fix it or learn to ask for help. And maybe most of all, we learned community. Back then, it wasn't unusual for a neighbor to wave you over and say, "Tell your mama I said hi," or offer a popsicle when the heat got bad. We knew our neighbors and they knew us. Do you remember how many of us rode to the library during the summer reading program? or to the community pool towel over one shoulder, radio clipped to the handlebars playing the Beach Boys or Motown, these moments strung together like beads on a necklace form something lasting, something deeper than just memories, a foundation of who we became. So while the world looks very different today, bike helmets, GPS trackers, scheduled playdates, and virtual everything, there's still a timeless truth in those summers we remember. Maybe you haven't ridden a bike in decades. Maybe your grandkids don't even believe you when you tell them you used to ride for miles without a phone or a helmet and live to tell the tale. But those summer rides, they live on in our stories, our family photos, and the way we still smile when we hear the faint ting of a bicycle bell on a quiet street. If this video brought back memories for you of your first bike, your neighborhood crew, or those sun-drenched adventures, leave a comment below. Tell us what color your bike was, what year it was, who you rode with. We'd love to hear your story, and if you enjoyed this trip down memory lane, please like and subscribe. It helps us keep sharing these stories and keeps our community growing. Most of all, thank you for being here, for remembering with us, and for keeping those golden summers alive. Until next time, may the wind always be at your back, and may your inner child never lose that sense of freedom that came from two wheels and an open road.